Hey guys, it's Hans Hobbies, and this is a comparison video between the newly released Redcat Volcano 16 and the ECX 1/18 scale Ruckus. So this was a requested video as well as something I've had in mind to do ever since I did the review for the ECX and ever since the Volcano was released. Um, and this is a pretty interesting and pretty evenly matched comparison because they are both mini four-wheel drive monster trucks that come in at the $99 price point. So a lot of people have been wondering whether to get the old dog here or the new kid on the block. And I'm kind of here to point out, I won't make the decision for you because ultimately any RC, it depends on what you plan on doing with it. And like honestly, having driven both of these trucks a lot, you can see both of them are pretty well run. They're both amazing trucks. They're both pretty great trucks, but both have their pros and cons. So I'm just here to point that out and just help you make your own decision. So, like I mentioned, both of these come in at $99 before tax. Well, $99.99 for both. And they're both four-wheel drive, and they're both monster trucks. The only difference is this one is also available as a short course truck if you so choose. And speaking of short course truck, let's just quickly get into the size. This one is a 16th scale, 1/16 scale. This one is a 1/18 scale, but you can see they're about the same size and they're the same wheelbase. And that's purely because the Ruckus, both the mini one and the 10th scale one, it's based on a short course truck chassis. And short course trucks technically tend to be the wheelbase and size of an 8 scale buggy. So, and monster trucks tend to be based on stadium truck or buggy dimensions as far as wheelbase goes. So that's why this one seems like it's larger just in wheelbase. It's just because it's based on a short course truck chassis, but you can't tell that it is properly scaled because the Redcat is larger just in width. It's just a matter of length and wheelbase is the same, but it is definitely longer. You can see the hub on the Redcat comes out right here, and the hub for the ECX comes in right here. So the Redcat definitely is a larger vehicle, just overall, but the way the length and size of the body and just the wheelbase kind of makes it seem like the same size truck, but it's not really. The Redcat's tires are also slightly larger. The next thing is kind of talking about the tires. The tires on both, for tires, I would give the point to the Redcat because they're both equally hard. The ECX is a little bit harder and also it's a little bit finer of a tread. So you definitely get a lot better traction and just compliance over the bumps with the Redcat tires. So the Redcat tires are something I'll probably get an extra set of for my ECX. Just because they're just pretty good tires. I'll have to make sure that they are both the same hex drive, but that's something I will confirm when I do the review for this one. So yeah, the wheels also look better on this one. It's kind of like a beadlock design. The little, where'd it go? The little Redcat sticker in the inside here kind of makes it look like the Kaiju wheel and tire. So that looks pretty cool. The other aspects, just before we take the body off, the bumpers, the overall aesthetic, I think the Redcat looks a lot better in my opinion. The body looks a bit cooler, even though the screen printing is pretty poorly done. You can see my racing stripes not centered, but from other trucks I've seen, this is kind of one of the better ones. Some of the other ones are really off to the side, so they could have done a better screen print job over here. But the overall look and aesthetic of the body, I think, I like the way the Volcano looks a bit better, and also the bumpers. This one features these proprietary LEDs in the front bumper and has a very nice summit-looking bumper in the front, and then the rear bumper is different. Whereas on the ECX, it just uses the same bumper front and rear. And it's a pretty basic and generic bumper. I will talk about my destroyed body in a second. But so yeah, but as far as durability goes, both bumpers are equally durable. This one is a little bit annoying sometimes because the LEDs will pop out. This one, you don't have LEDs, but then again, that's one less thing you have to worry about popping off. And then as for the body, they're both equally durable. I think it's a little bit it's a bit thicker and higher quality on the ECX. And I know you're saying higher quality. Well, this one's exploded at the rear. So how can this one be higher quality? Well, it's just a simple fact of this one, this truck, even though it has the smaller motor, as I'll show you when I take the bodies off, um, the ECX is actually faster. It's actually at least twice as fast, and that's despite having a smaller motor and despite having a nickel metal hydride battery pack rather than a lithium battery pack. The ECX is actually faster, so it just jumps higher. And I was also driving these today in about 25-degree weather. That's Fahrenheit. So the plastic got pretty brittle. When I did the review for this, you guys have seen I've kicked it, I've thrown it. The body didn't break. I think it's just the virtue of the fact that it jumps really high. The jump I took was also pretty high. It got probably about 5 feet up in the air, which for a tiny truck like this, that's pretty high. And then it landed squarely on the body, just slammed on the ground. This truck is also a bit heavier and faster, so it just adds up to a lot more mass and a lot more force going into the body, which is why, unfortunately, my body has ended up being destroyed. But otherwise, this body has been really durable. This body has stood up as well. You can see I've bashed this one quite a bit also. It's kind of worn through in the back here. This one hasn't cracked or broken or anything like that. But even with that said, it's a lot better than the high boxing 16889 body that comes with that truck, this is basically based on that truck. So a lot more durable than that, so I'm happy with that. But it's not a fair comparison, I think, because it just doesn't have as much force going into the body. So, but overall quality of the body, I think the ECX gets the point there, just because the screen printing is a little bit better done. The overall quality of the body is a little bit better done. You can see the screen printing here is kind of bleeding through. It's also not as thick. So I would presume that if had my ECX had this body on it, it would have shattered as well. So and also, if you're wondering, the wheelbase does match up, so you just fix up those body mount holes, and you can get a lowered Volcano going there. So if you want to do that, or vice versa, if you want a Ruckus body for your Volcano 16, that is also a option. And both ways, I think, looks pretty cool. So that's just up to you guys. Taking the bodies off, you can see they're basically a very similar design. Just motor on one side, 4-wheel drive, shaft drive, center spine brace going down both in the middle of both of these. Both of them have 2-in-1 ESC receiver combos. Both of them have like the spur gear cover in the back. It's just mirrored. The motor's on the other side. But funny enough, the servo is still on the same side. Speaking of the electronics, they both come with pretty common plugs. The ECX, being a Horizon Hobby product, comes with the EC3 plug pre-soldered on. And then the Redcat comes with Dean's connectors, which is what they're starting to move over to. So those are both pretty common plugs. So that's pretty nice. Like I mentioned, the Redcat comes with 2 of these 800 milliamp lithium ion battery packs, 2-cell, but they're okay. This one comes with a 900 milliamp 6-cell nickel metal hydride battery pack. This one is LiPo compatible. This one is not, but out of the box, this one just has higher performance overall. So that is something to keep in mind. And also for $99, this one out of the box comes with 2 batteries, but it does not come with oil shocks. It just comes with like literal pogo springs. They're not even friction shocks. There's no damping happening there. It just comes with just spring perches, basically pogo sticks. And yeah, it comes with LEDs, but you can easily add LEDs to this one, I guess. So like it's not that big of a plus, I think. This one comes with oil shocks. Out of the box, the caps pop off a bit if you jump it a lot, but other than that, it still comes with oil shocks. It comes with double A's for your transmitter, and the transmitter is a really nice full-size hobby grade transmitter, same one that they include on their larger 10th scale and 8th scale cars. So that's actually pretty nice. A lot more adjustability here, even throttle limiters here. So that's really nice if you're trying to give this to a youngin. Also, the controls are a lot more. The ESC, the electronics overall, are higher quality. So it has a higher resolution throttle and servo. The Redcat comes with this radio, which is really cheap. Only uses 2 AA batteries. Only steering trim basically here. And everything's really cheap about this. It's a 3-channel radio for some reason, but it's not used on this truck. And the resolution of this is pretty low. The electronics are pretty low quality, so you really don't get any response till about here. So this is basically all the resolution you get, at least with mine. I don't know if that's a fluke, but that's the throttle. The ESC calibration and the resolution doesn't seem to be very good, so that is something to keep in mind as well. You know, a lot of things to keep in mind in this comparison, but the motor, like I mentioned, is a larger motor on the Redcat, but it is slower. You can see it's not a typical hobby grade motor. You can see a little circuit board at the end of this. Also, the electronics are not entirely hobby grade. You can replace them if you need to, but they're not standard. You can see the motor plug is a proprietary little plug there. Even the LED is a little proprietary plug. And the servo, unfortunately, is a 5-wire servo, so it's going to be pretty difficult to find a replacement servo for this. And the servo, while it does respond pretty well and it hasn't died on me yet, it is starting to get kind of weak, so I think it might be starting to die, which is concerning because if your servo dies, then you have to replace your ESC, your motor, and basically everything, unless you replace it with an exact OEM, like exact replacement servo, which my policy is with servos and stuff, if the original one broke, you basically want to get a replacement. Whereas this one comes with more standard hobby grade electronics. You can see the motor is typical bullet connection there. 3-wire servo, which is nice, and it's a pretty common size for mini cars, as mini cars are concerned. So other than the downside of not being able to run LiPo batteries in this, it's overall better electronics on the ECX, which is something you get from out of virtue of being from a pretty major hobby distributor company. As far as upgrades go, if you're someone that likes upgrading their trucks with aluminum this, metal that, you want to go with the Redcat. So if you don't care about the initial $99 price point and you intend on spending more than that anyway, I would go with the Redcat. In my opinion, it handles a little bit better, because on the ECX, the suspension's not as versatile, I think, and the battery sitting upright like this kind of makes the center of gravity a little bit higher on the ECX. The Redcat has a bit more ground clearance, has more suspension action going, and is a lot lighter, so it's gonna survive crashes a bit better, I think. And also available for this truck are metal axles, metal drive cups, these oil-filled shocks you can get. You can get metal spur gear, I believe. And this one has full ball bearings out of the box, whereas this one doesn't have ball bearings in the hubs. So that is another thing to keep in mind. This one, the only upgrades basically that are available for it are these hot racing shocks and the bearing kit. And that's basically it. You can, I guess, upgrade electronics and servos and motors and stuff like that, but mechanically, like suspension and chassis wise, that's the only upgrades you can get for this. The ECX basically only has replacement parts. And segueing into replacement parts, as far as replacement parts go, it's a lot easier to find replacement parts for the Redcat because it is available by Redcat. Also, like I mentioned, you can get the high boxing 16889 parts for the Volcano here, and they'll be a direct fit. The only thing that's different between those two trucks is basically the rear arm design. This upper rear arm here is unique to the Redcat version. And obviously the body and tires, but everything else is basically the same. So this one, a lot easier to find parts on. It's all over Amazon. It's all over Banggood. It's all over Redcat's own website. So a bit easier to find parts for this. This one, the only place I've found parts for the ECX is at hobby shops and on Horizon Hobby's own website. I've seen a couple parts come up here and there on Amazon, but that's also distributed by Horizon Hobby still. You can find some parts also on eBay, but again, that's another Horizon Hobby outlet. So a bit more difficult to find parts for this one, but with that said, I haven't really broken much on this truck, so I don't think that's that big of an issue. I haven't broken much on this one either, so that's really not that big of an issue either. Couple other miscellaneous things that I wanted to mention. The wheels are attached on this using a Phillips head screw with a serrated like flange on it. So this one keeps the wheels on pretty well. This one uses like a more typical wheel nut, but unfortunately it's not serrated and the lock nut part of it doesn't work very well. So the nuts come loose pretty easily. So you do want to check those while you're running it. Otherwise you'll lose your wheel or your pin, drive pin. So you want to be careful of that. And then the final thing, the most important thing, is where can you get these trucks? So the Redcat, as of right now, there's a couple hobby shops that have gotten these in order, so they might be available at your hobby shop. But for the most part, you can get these from Redcat's website directly. That's the easiest place to get this, which means it's available for anyone that gets postal service. Whereas the ECX as a brand is a hobby shop, brick and mortar hobby shop exclusive. So you have to physically walk yourself to a hobby shop to pick up one of these, which might be a little bit difficult. One, because of COVID, and two, because of not everyone has a hobby shop. And even for people that do have a hobby shop, they have to be someone that carries ECX. So a bit harder to find this guy, but if you like how this truck performs and looks, then it's definitely worth tracking this one down. This one is a fun truck and probably something that a lot more people are gonna be interested in, just because better parts availability, easier to just purchase in general, and it's just easier to drive because it is slower and gets better grip and handles a little better. So it drives a little nicer. But if you're out for like outright top speed, like full-on hardcore bashing, this is your guy right here. So hopefully it was kind of a long video, but hopefully that will kind of narrow down the choice between these two trucks. And tell me in the comments which truck you decided to go with. I'm in love with both of them. I know in a previous video I told you guys I was done with this and I was gonna get rid of it, but after running it today and absolutely destroying it, I've kind of rekindled my love for the ECX, so I think this one's gonna have to stick around a little bit longer. And then this one is gonna get a bit more work done to it. So with that said, again, tell me what you guys thought about the two trucks, which one you guys like better, which one you guys would get one over the other. And any other questions or comments, leave them down below. Give me a like. Subscribe if you want to see more about these two trucks or any other RC shenanigans I am up to. And thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.